Hello and welcome to the 2018 FBA Draft. We are located here in beautiful Las Vegas, where tonight we will see where the FBA's brightest new stars end up as the first round of the FBA Draft is close to being underway. Exclusive coverage of the draft is brought to you by Sportston, thanks to our sponsor, Superwoo. Love, it's what makes a Superwoo a Superwoo. I'm Ryan Eastman, and joining me tonight as co-host is Marcus Baylor, my usual partner in crime. How are you doing tonight, Marcus?
I'm doing pretty fantastic, actually. This is going to be a very exciting time seeing these young players getting a chance to really bask in the bright lights here in Vegas, because we already know it's always a wild night here.
Yes, it is. Last year, bombarded by trades early, and then even 2016, lots of trades early. I think, when was the last time we didn't have a trade for the number one pick in this draft?
That's a good question, because it just seems like, for whatever reason, all the teams that who has the top pick, we're just like, you know what? We'd like to just take the time to add a couple of more and really get a chance to have a nice, young, fresh team to start off. And of course, there are some teams have taken advantage of it, as per example, Dakota doing a lot of crazy moves to get to where they are, and now they're eventual champions. Who knows what luck can do here?
Yeah, I mean, last year, number one pick trading away from the Bikers, but still able to get a seventh pick solid with Jalen Rose. And obviously, this year, the Albany Alpha is sitting up there at the first overall pick. A lot of discussion going on with who they will pick here tonight. I will say, it looks like actually Hugo Livingstone is getting ready to head on stage, so let's cut on over to him real fast.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I am Commissioner Hugo Livingston III, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the first round of the 2018 Furry Basketball Association Draft. We do have a few things to cover before we start. This evening, in the first round, each team will have 5 minutes to complete their draft pick. Once a player has been picked, I will return to announce the player and to start the next team's pick. In years past, there have been some shenanigans with the draft picks, but I assure you that this year we will have a quick, productive draft evening. And with that, I invite the Albany Alphas to select the first draft pick as their clock starts now. The Texas Lone Stars are now on deck. Thank you.
Yes, and as he says, the Albany Alpha is now on the clock. Looking at their roster, well, they only have 3 players still under contract for this next season, one of them being Tate Delgado, a player they traded for last season from the Plymouth Taproots. And obviously their number 2 pick last year, Niren, who as a center did not really stand out too well and lost his job to Timur partway through the season and found himself back on the bench. So what player do you think they should draft here?
The best available, aka Terry.
Yeah, I mean, but who do you define as the best available? I know the consistent ranking is Terry O'Toole, but do you think they should go with maybe a big?
Well, I mean, as you said, it's kind of hard to really say like what player should they go for, considering they only have 3 players left on this roster. It's not something that I would say that, oh yeah, they should probably go for need. Like, need at this point is just thrown out the window, because you need everything at this point
Well,
for
a
Albany.
point guard. Don't draft a point guard.
Well, okay, don't draft a point guard. Then you can argue that you don't need to draft a starting center, because even though Neron did not play as well as you would hope, sometimes players take a little bit of time to really get used to the game. And who knows if his second year could be a little bit better.
I'm going to walk back. When I say a big, I meant more of a forward big. Because the thing with Terry O'Toole is he is a swing. So yes, he can cover the small forward spot and the shooting guard spot. However, with Kavar in free agency this season, do they have the fear that they may lose another big player after losing Umechi last season? So if they drafted a big forward, true forward, they would at least have some assurance that they could maybe slide them over to Kivar's spot and maybe continue to give Yasina a chance to be the starting small forward. She was successful while she was playing for the Alphas. Obviously, she came in partway through the season.
Yeah, but again, even though the fact that Viren Kivar is a pretty big piece that has been a fantastic player for them for a good while in his career. Again, they are with the first pick for a reason. And as much as it pains you to really let someone of that caliber go, this is a fresh start. This is time for you to really try to the rebuild the team chemistry again and try and see if we can probably bring in a new culture within Albany. Because of course, as Omechi went away from the team, that culture went away with it. And right now, they really need to focus on finding a guy that can bring that culture back. And Viren is a little bit of a quiet guy.
Well, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, do you really concern yourself with that situation when you're at this point? I mean, you have Tay Delgado to build around. Maybe you want that, front face covered player that is the future of your franchise, but maybe find that in free agency rather than taking a gamble with the draft. I mean, also, the fact that they have the number one pick is because someone has cursed Plymouth to never have a high pick despite losing out constantly.
I mean, it is what it is. You can't really do much about that. But I mean, as you said, like, if you really don't have much anything to lose, what's wrong with playing a little bit of gambling at this point? Wouldn't blame them if they actually go for the big name more so than trying to go for a necessary skill at this point. I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you come back into the Terrio tool definitely standing out in that regard. He is a bit of a vocal player, at least presence-wise on social media, so he would be a good pick. Dragomir was very vocal during his dislike of the bikers' location, but attention can be both good and bad, as evidenced by Sterling as well, having a similar outspoken mindset. So,
when it comes to that, I really think that even having that outspoken mindset, even though you're a young gun, if you're in a locker room that is pretty much close to being guaranteed to be mostly young, I think you have to have someone to step up to the plate. As you said, in free agency, we're not sure who they're going to bring in, what kind of culture they want to have right now, if they want to try and see if they can pull a Dakota from last year and have a really, really successful free agency, or are they just going to take it slow and really just develop their young guys? It really depends on what they want.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're in that weird rebuilding stage about Plymouth. We'll get to Plymouth in a minute because, good God, they have traded their asses off to get into the top picks. And the clock has wound down. It looks like they are just confirming the pick with the commissioner, and he is slowly going to walk his way to stage. I'll give you a heads up once he's actually, within range of the stage where it might actually make it up there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, the elephant needs to stay close by. That's the takeaway from here.
Well, he is a big guy.
Yeah, and actually, it does look like he has put some hustle in his step, and he is getting close to the stage now. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to him. I think his mic is still muted. Hang on. He's playing around with it.
Excuse me. Good evening again. For the first pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Albany Alphas select Terry O'Toole, a forward guard Irish Wolfhound from Firmass. Congratulations to you, Terry O'Toole, on being the number one pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return shortly for the next pick when the Texas Lone Stars have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Well, no shocker there, Terry O'Toole going number one.
Yep, it's not a surprise. As I said before, they're in a clean slate. They don't really have an identity at the moment. And right now, you do need to see if you can bring in a guy who can bring some type of leadership coming out of college. And this guy can definitely do that, considering the fact that he has talking to many of former and current players, considering his dad being a big name in the market as well. So it's not a surprise that they're going to go for a guy who is a proven leader, both on the court and of course in the media. And I think this could be a really solid choice for the future of Albany.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, assuming they don't trade this player before the end of the night is done, I think Terry's a great pick here. It's going to be important to see how they follow it up going forward. Um, and more importantly, how they build around him is the other big thing.
Yep.
Because I mean, he is filling honestly huge shoes if they're planning to start him at small forward. I mean, coming in after Umechi left a season ago, and seeing where the team went because of that, there's going to be high expectations that he is the answer to their problem.
And it could be one of those situations like if they do bring Yesina back to Albany, they could pretty much like play around with who gets to play the shooting guard and small forward. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll play around with it. I think that they have an opportunity to see where they can go and see what really is the nice fit in this early stage. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and cutting on over, let's jump to Texas now, who's on the clock. Definitely an interesting choice from them. I know you obviously had a lot to say in your article about them, but they find themselves in a situation where pretty much their entire starting lineup is returning, but given how they finished the season, that's not enough, obviously. So, I mean, of their starting lineup, when I look at it, giving my opinion, Aragon Fisher is a fine starting point guard. I mean, maybe draft a backup, but Tajay is a fine backup for him to learn. Marcus Knight's obviously your star. And then you kind of get into the question marks because you have a lot of depth at the forward position, but not a lot of answers. I mean, they just traded for Cassidy Whitelatch from the Bangor Tide, so he may now be the starting power forward. So does that mean that maybe they try upgrading Kitaro or Adi at center?
That's really a good question, and honestly, if that's going to be the case, I would highly suggest possibly trading down because there aren't really a lot of players that in the center position that is really that high to where you say, yep, this is the guy that we're going to pick as our number 2, because that's obviously a clear reach. But we have seen that happen.
I was to say last season we saw a number 2 pick go to number 9 center, but like you said, the center depth this class has been very weak, or the fact that the rest of the positions have just had such a strong presence that we might see our first FBA draft in forever where a top 5 pick is not a center. But I 100% agree with you. Trading down is a intelligent idea because you can get more value out of your pick, especially if you're looking forward. I mean, I'm sure there are teams very hungry much further down in the draft that are willing to sell an arm and a leg right now to jump up to number 2.
Oh, yes. But if that ends up not being the case, as much as they probably wouldn't really want to, I would personally say that they could probably go for a point guard to draft there. Might as well just possibly get maybe Jose, possibly, mainly because of the fact that really you probably do need to have a point guard or the future because Aragon Fisher is up there in age, so you're not really entirely sure if he's going to stick around when his contract is up. So I think that it will be a good idea to really pick a point guard right now and really just try to kind of play around and see how well he can do, and then maybe see how well he can be as a starter in the future.
Yeah, but I think I see the commissioner starting to head towards the stage now, actually.
For the number 2 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Texas Lone Stars select Dennis Summers, a point guard kangaroo from UFLA Oakland. Congratulations to Dennis Summers on being the number 2 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return shortly after the Tallahassee Typhoons have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Okay there, Mr. Marcus Baylor. Were you sneaking
Huh.
a peek at their pick? Because as
No.
soon
Okay.
as I started to see Hugo Livingstone move towards the stage, you started to change your tune about a point guard.
No. Okay. Okay. I will be fair. I did not see this coming. I honestly didn't. But I did make some sense of saying that they might need to find a point guard for the future. I'm really surprised they went with Dennis first because, as I said, Jose is the best point guard, and heck, you probably put in Trevor ahead since he's like the top guard in the entire
Mm-hmm.
FBA. Sure,
Well,
he
he's a
is.
swing.
Yeah, sure, he's more of a swing fur, but if I recall correctly, he is a pretty decent passer, so you could
Yeah.
probably work on that a little bit more in his role by taking that step back. But this is a very intriguing pick going for Dennis Summers.
Well, again, the no nonsense kind of mentality might have been what they were looking for, but in the end, uh, they picked a point guard. So we'll have to see what that means going forward for uh, Aragon Fisher, if he's going to have to take more of a teaching role going forward, because it sounds like his number is on the clock now in terms of getting replaced here. So I would not be shocked to see him maybe being a little vocal about this going into tomorrow or tonight, even if he gets a notification saying, "Hey, you may have just lost your job." But
Well, as I said before, this could be one of those situations to where it's like he is up there. I believe he's in his like entering his 11th, maybe 12th season in the FBA
hmm
right now. So he has to realize that he is past his prime. He has established himself as a fantastic player with a fantastic career, and so maybe it's a good thing for him to really take his talents and really um, be able to help Dennis up and really try to play his role the right way.
yeah. So speaking of past their prime, let's jump over to Tallahassee, where they last year suffered a bit of a misstep with the Sarah Lancaster coming in as their point guard, not really able to keep up with the league in terms of the pace and everything. Obviously, she struggled, and we saw her retire this offseason and actually take up a general manager role. So she'll be making the pick tonight almost assuredly. I don't know if they'll let the coach really have a say in this or if the owner's going to step in. But looking at Tallahassee, obviously, I think they may have been looking at Dennis possibly as a replacement, but maybe now Jose is on the clock because they are fighting for Narcissa. They are fighting for a couple other big players. I mean, really, they only have Travis and Rosalia Smoot locked down in terms of their starting roles. So I think a guard might be what they were expecting to take here. So what do you think?
Yep. I would agree with you, but I feel like they might go for Trevor Cruz here, in my opinion, mainly because the fact that, as you said, they are fighting for Nikisa. They really want to bring her back, but she has been a little bit vocal of being like she's not really very keen on returning and possibly looking somewhere else. So, of course, that's going to come into play here. But I would say that they could probably take a chance in drafting um drafting Trevor, mainly because of the fact of the what if scenario is just too much. Sure, it might like show as a red flag to Nakisa, but how much of it would it be considering that she's already has been vocal of possibly looking for a new jersey to wear next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Narcissa staying on Tallahassee is below um, a coin flip. I would even call it almost to the point of where you might as well just count her as gone unless the stars align for her to return. But again, I lean towards a guard here, just because you need a point guard, and I know they're going after Kenny, but I'd be shocked if Kenny left Seattle. I kind of figured he might go after a team that's willing to make him the star, but I don't know if Tallahassee's that team that can do that for him. Obviously, I think the weather is a bit more conducive to his species, but I thought Arizona was going to be the top choice, but they didn't make an offer on him yet. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I do think that they have somewhat of a shot with Kenny because Troy's trying to find a way to really solidify himself as one of the best point guards in the game right now. He certainly has shown that he's able to have that ability,
well, one
but
season. I mean,
but
he's
yeah,
had
for
one
one
season.
season, granted. Um,
And I would say, actually, it looks like the elephant's heading towards the stage now.
For the third pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Tallahassee Typhoons have selected Jose Carastados, a guard crested owl from El Alalo College. Congratulations to you, Jose, on being the number 3 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. The Plymouth Taproots have the next selection, and after that, San Jose Thrust is on deck. Thank you.
So this time I snuck a peek in. I mean, I called it early. They needed a guard. Jose being the best point guard left now. Who knows if he was the one they wanted from the start, but they obviously got one of the best guards in the class here.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with you on this one, mainly because of the fact that I really honestly think that if Texas was going to go guard, they were going to go with Jose because he is clearly the best. Well, I wouldn't say clearly, but he is, by a lot of by the rankings, that he is the best point guard available. But surprise, surprise, they decided to go with Dennis, so they'll easily take Jose as their consolation prize.
Yeah. So, this pick makes sense to me. I have no issue with it. I think the only thing that maybe could have been another alternative would have been a player like Rising or, like you said, Cruz being able to play swing. But I think when we are all done with this pick, it's the top. It's going to get like a B or B plus grade in the end. Only thing they could have made it higher is if they somehow stole the first and second pick from the teams. Which, speaking of which, Plymouth Taproots. They were supposed to be the 8th pick, but here they are at the 4th now after trading away Nina Lime to the Arizona Whips for the 4th overall pick. What do you think about that trade, and what do you think about who they're going to pick here?
Well, it's pretty obvious the Plymouth Taproots is ready for a major makeover. We have heard from the general manager that came in this year that they were not going, that no one's job was safe. They're ready to turn a new leaf, and he was true to his word. And at this point, it's pretty obvious that they are trying to bring in a certain big old fox that pretty much everybody wants.
Well, everyone but only 2 teams have offered. Well, 3 at one point, but the cost amount was too high there. But I think that's what scared everyone off. $25 million is the starting price for the Fox now.
I mean, it's not surprising considering the fact that he is considered one of the best players in the FBA right now. So of course, people want to pay some big bucks for him. Now, of course, when it comes to that, I think that that in this mindset they will possibly go best available here. Which
so
in
Cruz.
This case, yeah, I would probably say Cruz here, mainly because of the fact that as with Albany for a little bit, they are pretty much just a blank slate at this point. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, except for Springer and Mendoza, who they traded for. Mendoza, I imagine, will be the backup center, and Springer, traded from the Tallahassee from the old guard, does possibly stand a chance of being the starting small forward or power forward, depending on how they draft here. I really think Plymouth is shooting itself in the foot right now. They probably thought that Jose and Dennis may have been here at the number 4 spot, but Texas, with the surprise point guard pick, in my book at least, may have robbed them of that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's going to be interesting to see where Plymouth will go. I think Trevor Cruz might be their best option because I know that there is a little bit of a risk here, trying to see of who they want to have as their starting general at this point, especially since they have traded so much this offseason. Because remember, they also have another pick in the lottery anyways, their original 8th pick. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting. But for now, I think they're going to go best available here, Trevor Cruz. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee, but I have a pretty high hopes that that's going to be the pick.
Yeah, and actually it looks like we'll see in a sec as Hugo is heading to the stage now.
For the number 4 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Plymouth Taproots select Michael River, a forward water deer from Pinetop College. Congratulations to you, Michael, on being the 4th pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return for the next pick when the San Jose Thrust have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
So, sounds like the fireworks going off in the background as the quiet Michael Rybread River, selected 4th overall. Not a surprise there. Power forward, even though I think he also can play small forward, but one of the 2 best players left on the board now. What are your thoughts on this?
Kenny and Cresta, because they have thrown offers at them, if I recall correctly. So they might feel very confident that they're able to bring those 2 into their roster. So they might be looking into possibly getting into the playoffs right now.
Well, I think everyone's looking to get in the playoffs right now, but I mean that's been the mindset. I think a lot is that your job is on the line unless you make the playoffs. But no, I mean at this point, any pick inside the top 8 that wasn't a center, I think would have been fine for this team. So
yeah,
I think we'll see where they go with their future picks because again we're gonna have them on the board at 8 and 11, so they won't be off for very long.
Oh yeah, I would be surprised, like, especially considering the fact that that Plymouth does have that 8th pick. They might see if they can probably get another one if a certain player continues to drop right now, because Trevor has dropped a little bit. If he ends up dropping at that spot, I would not be surprised if they pick him up.
Yeah, and let's hop over to San Jose actually, who really might be looking for Trevor Cruz because they need a shooting guard. I mean, obviously they were able to get Adam Tavella through a renegotiation of the contract, found himself in free agency, and he was signed and traded to the San Jose Thrust, really shoring up that lost spot when Jonathan Lawyer left. So now they find themselves with Jona Vastenhout, who I thought they might try and keep and have a set lineup, but they haven't made an offer, at least as far as I understand. There's no rumors out there about it. So does that mean that they're going to draft a guard here?
Yeah, honestly, that is a little bit of a surprise considering, because Jona has played his heart out for this team, and I felt like that he was willing to be very loyal to the team. He hasn't really posted any of his frustrations from what I recall correctly, but it seems like that San Jose doesn't really see him as the future right now, at least this resume. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do decide to go for shooting guard. I mean, as you said before, the best player available is more shooting guard based, but he can also play a little bit of small forward. So if they want to play around a little bit more as well, they can if they want to. But it's one of those wait and sees. But I do think that Trevor could possibly be it. I'm probably gonna be saying this about every pick now.
And actually, I think they've already made their decision. I see the elephant heading to the stage.
For the number 5 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the San Jose Thrust have selected Mike Rising, a god forward Red Wolf from New York Carnival Predator University. Congratulations to you, Mike, on being the number 5 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return shortly when the Lorraine Firestorm have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Back-to-back mics. All right, then.
Well, one talks, one doesn't, so you wouldn't even notice if they were both in the same room together. But aside from Rybread going number 4, Rising going number 5, as we said, is not a horrible shock there. I do think it makes sense in the sense that they're giving up on Jona. I think that's a mistake, but obviously I'm not a general manager, so my opinion is only worth the number of clicks it gets on FSPN.
Yep. I honestly agree with you here, mainly because of the fact that I do think that Jona has well established himself being a rising above average starter, that he can really he's able to shoot very well. I think he can be a positive reinforcement to whatever team he's going to go to, because at this point it's pretty obvious they don't want to. They don't seem very interested in Yona. But I think Mike Rising is definitely a solid choice. I guess as a little bit of a reset here, but I think it'll probably go along very well, teaming up with Alessandro Serra and also Adam Tavella. I think that's going to be a very good. It'll be a decent lineup, I think.
Yeah, I definitely could see this team now making it back to the playoffs, especially considering they are in the region of death. This team as a whole really did not deserve to miss the playoffs. It's only because of the division they're in right now.
Oh yeah. Considering that this is the hardest division, and it's of course it got a little bit harder, they actually improved, and they could possibly be able to sneak in, probably in a much higher position than what most people would expect, considering the firepower that they have right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, Alessandro, one of the better point guards in the league. He did move over to shooting guard, and Yona went to point guard for a bit there. Uh, Especially adding Tavella is just a huge. That was already enough of an upgrade that I thought they would be a playoff team. Obviously, I think going away from Yona is a downgrade just because we're looking at a rookie, and the chances of them succeeding as a rookie is usually not as great as someone you already know and have established what you're going to get from them. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a gamble. They might find themselves still, the seventh, eighth seed, but I do think this pick as a whole, long term, might be a good investment.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, but sometimes if you're willing to take those risks, and I guess they really do have a lot of confidence in Tavella as well, if they really feel like that they don't need Yona's services, but it's gonna be a wait and see. It'll be interesting to see what's gonna happen in San Jose.
Yeah, and actually, I think the commissioner looks like the pick's already in.
For the sixth pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Lorraine Firestorm have selected Andrew McDonald Rainbow, point guard, Australian Magpie, from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Congratulations to you, Andrew, on being the sixth pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. Next up will be the Las Vegas Wildcards, followed by the Plymouth Taproots. Thank you.
Hmm.
No, well, a little bit of a shock there. I had not expected Lorraine to pick a point guard. Really looking at their team, and we didn't unfortunately get a lot of time to talk about their team. I think a shooting guard is what they really needed, even though I know McDonald does kind of play more of a uh, shooting guard role to an extent because he is excellent at scoring from long range and from close range. I think he won the dunk contest in Australia that they hosted.
Mhm.
So if
Yeah,
they're bringing him for scoring, that might be a good choice there.
yeah. I would say that when it comes to Mike Rising, it's an interesting choice. Considering that DeHugo is pretty much heading out the door, and Zach Flashball has been more of a miss than a hit so far, and he's on his last contract here. I can understand that. Yeah, probably getting a pure shooting guard would make sense. But when we look at the starting point guard position, Michelle Sundos, sure she's like an average to above average starter at best, but she hasn't really shown that she's able to take over a game. And I think that that's one of the things that Lorraine has been lacking um this year, well last year I should say. And so probably finding a player that could take over a game, which of course Rainbow will probably take it'll probably take a little bit of time for him to truly take over as the year goes by. But I feel like that having him on there, having that nice scoring option would be really reasonable to have.
Yeah, and I mean, again, with the Plymouth Taproots, they're going to be on the clock in a minute. The Lorraine Firestorm, they definitely needed kind of a character, as you had mentioned earlier with Albany. They, aside from Agundio, they really, and I mean, Edwin has been fairly active and around, but they really needed another, I guess, player that can be a, hey, I'm in charge. And I think Andrew might be that kind of player. Uh, moving on, so we don't forget about them. Talking about Vegas. Looking at their roster, obviously they have Misha Maxwell, Kirkpatrick, and Fenris. 3 definite starters there. They still have Malone on their roster. However, I think Malone, after last season, may find himself a 6th fur, just given based on his performance. But at the same time, I can't imagine how hard it was for the Roo to learn a completely new playbook after having played pretty much the same playbook for a decade with the Bikers. So now that we've seen 3 point guards, 3 off the board in the top 6 picks, who do they pick? Because I thought they would get a point guard, but they really don't have many options now, per se, as I think they were expecting early.
Honestly, I feel like, considering that what I have seen on Twitter for a little bit, I would not be surprised if they decide to go for the first center, or at least a big fur. And right now, I would probably have to say Nikolai Volkov will probably be the player that will end up picking. The main reason why I see this is because, well, we all know that Nikolai had a little bit of a growth spurt.
Well, and, I mean, you're talking about Nikolai, but you haven't mentioned Trevor. He's still on the board.
Okay, yes, but we're talking about
yes,
some players who
they
actually
don't
have a team of need. Okay, they don't need him, and I'm pretty
but
sure
they
you don't
want
want to have
him. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, but no, you mentioned Nikolai. He is the highest rated player that can play the center position. The next highest player would be St. Croix at 14, and that's the problem. Is do you reach here, or do you maybe trade down a few picks, because there are other point guards available. I mean, Lisa is a guard, so I mean she played point guard. You could use her.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like, if they really, like, we already know how Las Vegas is. Vegas loves to gamble, and that's pretty ironic considering where we're at right now. But if they decide to reach, I will not be surprised if they decide to go with say Croy. She has a little bit of a rebellious attitude, and they might need a little bit of that type of attitude within this team.
Yeah, and actually, I think I see the commissioner getting ready to head on stage.
For the number 7 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Las Vegas Wildcards have selected Nikolai Volkov, a power forward center stepwolf from Krasnodar, Russia. Congratulations to you, Nikolai, on being the number 7 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. Next up will be the Plymouth Taproots, and I will return once they've confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Well, I mean, you definitely called it. You have been more right tonight than you should have been. Now tell me who the hell's your source? Where are you? Who do you have in these rooms spying on these teams to know all these picks? This is the 3rd or 4th time now. You've been exactly right.
Let's just say I have a very bright mind.
I will, please, everyone. I am Booth. I am asking you, get a highlight reel of all the times he has mispronunciated a word or absolutely goofed during a broadcast.
Okay.
And get that going. I want to see this bright mind.
I'm not. I might not be bright when it comes to pronunciations, but I have a bright mind when it comes to basketball. So don't come at me with that BS. All right. Anyways.
So what you're saying is GM Marcus Baylor 2020?
I mean, you never know. We'll see what happens.
I pray for the poor soul that hires you. What? I mean, huh?
Whatever. You know what? I'll punch you later. Don't worry about it. Anyways,
you'll break me.
Let's go ahead and get on to Plymouth, who was picking again with the number 8th pick.
The second time the Plymouth Taproots are on the clock, and they have one more time after this tonight, which is absolutely ridiculous. But we have made it to their 8th original pick. They obviously picked Mike Rising, who was the Big Fur decision. Now, where do they go from here? Trevor Cruz, number 2. I'm going to say Trevor Cruz, a guard.
Forward. He is there. He is unfortunately, some players do dropped, and he was a player that unfortunately dropped pretty far. And it's kind of crazy because he is the number two. He was ranked number two overall when it comes to the rankings. So I think that it's kind of a no brainer at this point. Just like, hey, this guy fell into our laps. Let's go ahead and pick him up and start this young core going.
Yeah, and I mean the point of they just picked Mike Rising, and the top three players left are Trevor Cruz, a guard forward, Dragomir, a forward, um, Des- Desdemona, a forward. We have a lot of forwards left in the top three remaining picks at the number 2, 5, and 9 ranking. So Trevor Cruz makes the most sense in my book, given the guard mentality, or maybe they can pull another heist and trade a pick for something, because I think they really wanted a point guard, and the next point guard is Lisa. And I don't think they're going to feel Lisa at 14. I think they wanted the fourth pick to be the point guard, so they might have to start gambling in free agency.
Yep, I would agree with you on there. Right now, considering the fact that that's really their only option is Trevor Cruz, in my opinion. If they do decide to go um outside of that and go for power forward, especially in the number 8 spot, you might a certain Fox will probably look some type of way and just be like, throw this all this money at me, but you go ahead and throw a top 10 pick to draft. I don't know about that. Not sure if I want to deal with that, Chief. So for me, I think that it's a no brainer. Trevor Cruz has to be here. If not, I'm gonna be very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Plymouth has been a team defying expectations. So I would not be shocked. I mean, sitting at number 11, there's also Alexa Francesca. Maybe they like her more than Trevor Cruz. Maybe they're a little concerned about the bat. Who knows how they're going to build. Maybe they're going to package Mike Rising to Terry O'Toole, who I thought would have been the number one selection had Plymouth picked up the pick, because that's honestly what I thought was going to happen. I thought they were going to trade their 8th and 11th pick or 8th and 4th pick for the first pick just to grab the Irish Wolfhound. But, man, they're definitely thinking hard about this. I mean, the player they picked now may not be there at 11. So,
Oh yeah, I think that, like, considering the fact that I believe Queens is probably going to be looking for a point guard as well, so Lisa might be off the board by then too. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a really difficult decision to see what they want to do for guard, but I think Trevor has to be their safest bet. But if not, then maybe Dragomir. But again, this goes to how this message would be for the Fox. That's basically it.
yeah, I mean, hey, if he drafted a center here, how would that go?
Yep, like again with Reagan St. Croix being the best ranked center and she's 15th. That's gonna tell you a lot about how the class really is for the center position.
Yep, and as the clock winds down, I think I see Hugo heading to the board now.
For the number 8 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Plymouth Pet Roots have selected Trevor Cruz, a guard forward painted bat from Pinion State University. Congratulations to Trevor on being the number 8 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return for the next pick when the Huntsville Mayors have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Yeah, they thankfully stopped the heartbreak for Cruz. He only slid 6 spots. I think we all remember 2015 when we saw the number 1 pick slide to 11. So he avoided that unfortunate situation of sitting in the green room waiting.
Yeah, I think that this was honestly, it's not too much of a surprise, to be honest, considering how, as we said, they probably need to go for a shooting guard. So they went big with their first pick. and Trevor was the best available. If they actually go any lower other than him, it would be a reach. And I consider this, well, obviously so far the steal of the draft. It's not saying
Right.
much considering we just finished the lottery,
Hmm.
but this is most certainly a steal in the draft in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, number 2 going down to number 8, I think with the teams coming up and we can talk about them, he may have been able to get away with waiting. Okay, I'll take it back. I don't think he would have made it past Queens, but
Yeah, like he's like Queens is probably
would have
considering
snatched him
guard.
up in a hurry. But
Mhm.
so let's, like I said, we've agreed. Great pick for Plymouth. Let's go ahead and move on to the next team, Huntsville. Who do you think they need looking at their board? Because currently their starting lineup is set aside from Amina Ferhadovic, who is in free agency, but she's also getting up there in age, as is McCormick. So, do they possibly go ahead and draft their eventual replacement for either of those? Or maybe, especially since we have 2 forwards still highly rated on the board?
Well, I would have to say it's going to be a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what they go with here because even though you, as you said, they have 2 big forwards in Dragomir and Desdemona. I believe both of them are more power forwards than small forwards, since they already have their power forward in Harrison York for the next
Yeah,
couple of years.
but
Uh,
he can play center.
True, you're right. You are right. He can play center. So if they do have the option if they do trust Harrison enough um to transition into a more five position role, it is possible. But I feel like that if they would like to prefer him sticking to where he's good at the best, which is power forward, they might not want to go for that route. I honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if St. Croix would come off here.
I would not be shocked either. St. Croix, um, definitely the best center left. If Nikolai had slid here, I think Nikolai would have been off the board. But obviously, with Vegas picking him, it leaves St. Croix or Cassius Watterson. I mean, I don't know how they feel about going even larger, only 2 spots back, but he is 7'6". He is a giant compared to
Yeah,
St. Croix, who I think is 7'3". Not a huge difference, but in the league where size seems to be important, those 3 inches could be the difference between a block and a made shot here.
yeah, and going back into talking about thin uh, thin positions in the draft, small forward position is not really that strong either, if I recall correctly.
Well, I mean, if you move past Desdemona and, well, okay, I think technically Alexa was the best small forward in the sense that she was listed as a small forward at number 12, at number 11, but we had a ton of forwards who can play both positions, especially in the
True.
swing for, because actually Terry O'Toole, sorry, was the number 1 forward guard
Yeah,
combo. And then
but
obviously Trevor forward guard forward. So
yeah, but if we are talking about like, I wouldn't say pure, but like most mainly focused on the small forward position, there aren't a lot. There aren't a lot in this draft. So they could go for Alexa if they want to. It won't be too much of a reach considering where they are at number 9. But again, I probably would either go with Francesca or St. Croix if they really want to go for need, because it's really more need based, if anything.
yeah, and again, I imagine they'll get. There was some locker room drama with Ferhadovic. I don't know if she'll want to leave. I think it's really going to come down to where she can get the most and who's closest to getting a championship. And I think Huntsville right now, of all the teams that have been purported to offer her a contract, Huntsville is the closest to a championship. And given her age and what stage of the career she's in, she'll probably stay with them. So perhaps drafting a forward, which is really, oops, sorry, my alarm went off. I apologize at home if any of you just died. I will try and catch that next time. I will imagine that they would go for a forward here probably Dragomir, just to possibly replace um, McCormick, who was probably their weakest link last season.
Oh, that's not even that's a guarantee that he was the weakest link.
True, true.
No offense, McCormick, I love you, but you're it's not it's pretty clear that they did not have the depth for the small forward position. They do need to see if they could get a forward of some kind. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they do decide to go with Dragomir, even though he is more of a power forward than a small forward. But it's I wouldn't be too surprised if they decide to do a little bit of a reach there.
Well, I mean, a reach going for the number 5th at number 10, number 9. So, however
Well,
you
I
want to call
mean,
that.
as in like Alexa Francesca. And,
Oh, well, she's only a
what's
couple
the thing
spots
for it?
back, but I do see Hugo hustling, if I could use that word, to the stage as the clock had expired.
For the 9th pick of the 2018 Furry Basketball Association Draft, the Huntsville Mares have selected Dragomir Balabanov, a forward European hair from Plovdiv, Bulgaria. Congratulations to you, Dragomir, on being the number 9 pick of the FBA draft. I will return for the next pick when the Queen's Pride have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
So, let me just rub my paws together here as I have suddenly been looking at my Magic 8 ball, and it's been working for once. Again, no shock here considering he did slide all the way from 5 to 9. He was clearly the best player on the board still, and he still has that slight size that he can play at both small forward and power forward at 6'10". A little tall for small forward, but we've seen the league. He's also light enough to be fast in the position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't think the pick was too bad because, as you said, best player available. They do need some type of answer for small forward, and they don't really want to reach too deep to get it. So it's understandable there. And if they really want, if they are planning on moving on from Emina this season for next year, they can move York to the center position um and put Dragomir in the power forward, more preferable position for them, as you said. But we'll have to wait and see what's going on with Huntsville.
Yeah, and I mean, again, they're close. I mean, they obviously took Bangor to 7 in the first round. So they have they have a switch that they can turn on. They just need to get to that point all the time.
Yep, it's a consistency issue for
Yep.
the most part. Trying to find a way to mingle with the roster and make sure to find that click. And once they find that click, they can be very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to the 10th pick now, the Queens, the team that kind of suffered the most this offseason with the surprise in Davenport, and Tavella renegotiating his contract and jumping off the ship and heading to the West.
Yeah, this is as a Queens fan, this is a little bit of a dark time considering the fact that your best player, since the Queen really, has pretty much ended up just saying that I don't feel like that I can win here. I'm gonna go somewhere else. And to be honest with you, while I think that the decision was pretty hasty, pretty fast, in my opinion, was kind enough to be willing to have him leave via trade to help the Queens out a little bit. But when it comes to their roster, I think it's pretty clear that they're going to need a point guard. And
yeah, I mean they can get Samantha back, but
they could, but they really need to start focusing more so on the future than trying to win now. And I feel like trying to keep Samantha Anderson is more of a we're gonna try and win now, which really isn't the case considering the roster is pretty lackluster for the most part.
Yeah, I mean she was obviously 6th for the year, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on that. Point is, yes, I think there's a player that's staying there within range that makes sense with Lisa DuPont. She is the 13th ranked player, going at number 10 would not be too shocking. I If she doesn't go here, she might go at number 11, but even that, I think as I mentioned earlier, that Plymouth will not bother with a point guard at that point, that they'll try and get one in the free agency and win now, or maybe wait till next year. So with the Queens, as you mentioned, their point guard issue is the biggest. I would say their shooting guard with uh, Wilds is a little suspect. So I would argue the best guard should go here, which again either goes to Francesca, who's a forward guard, or back to Lisa, who is the best guard left.
Yeah.
So
So you're pretty much gonna say it's almost certainly a lock that they are gonna go with the top guard at this point in the draft.
well,
And
Desdemona at power forward would make some sense. She's a little rough around the edges, especially her size is not the best. But they do need a power forward center. And you know what? The problem with the Queens, I throw everything out. I'm saying Desdemona here.
okay,
Because
I
could see St. Croix as well, but
yeah, honestly, this is one of those teams that probably needs a little bit of everything. Outside of Micah, they don't have much, and even with that, Micah is a little bit. He's all right. He's an all right player, but you do need someone who can be pretty much the next face for your franchise. And right now, as you said, it can most certainly be Desdemona, but I'm gonna say that they might want to just like try to get their next queen, which in this case could be Lisa.
could be. And I think we're about to hear that announcement now as I see Hugo heading to the stage.
For the number 10 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Queen's Pride have selected Antoinette Barraquin, a guard raccoon from Chicago Bay. Congratulations to you, Antoinette, on being the number 10 pick for the 2018 FBA Draft.
Ah!
I will
Sorry.
return with the next pick as the Plymouth Taproots confirm their selection. Thank you.
Wow, I think
my
everyone
alarm went off
into
again and it scared me. I'm sorry.
panic mode right now for.
Oh my
for the
god,
Bears.
I'm sorry. I was not expecting the alarm to go off. I thought I had stopped.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
it's the 10th pick and I've already lost it, guys. Let's wrap it up, end the show. We're done.
Well, I mean,
With this
this
pick,
is
I'm
a
done
little
as
bit of
well.
a shocking. This is a little bit of a shocking pick anyway, because I don't think anyone's expected for. Granted, this player was on the cusp. The top 10 is a little stretchy, considering the fact that you had Lisa, you have Alexa. Heck, you can even go with Kiara Hughes, even though that's a bit of a reach in its own right. But to really be going over for Antoinette, that's a pretty big, that's a big jump, big leap.
Yes, the first real reach of the draft, but I mean, good on you, Queens, for going with what you want.
Yeah. Like I said, Antoinette, they needed a point guard, so they got a point guard. At least it wasn't like as big of a leap as we saw last year with Lorraine and and their pick from last year. But
Yeah.
this is still pretty much a big of a shock.
It definitely is, and as mentioned, they got a guard, so they went where we were expecting, kinda, just a little bit deeper than I think we were expecting. So maybe they saw something that the rest of the league hadn't in Antoinette. I mean, obviously she has her brother in the league, so there is some pedigree there. But moving on to Plymouth with their third pick, I can't imagine how crazy their draft room is. Normally, you only have to worry about making it to one pick. They've had to make it through 3.
Yeah, this is definitely something that we really never seen here in the draft before. That to me is just like a little, excuse me, it's a little bit of a shock seeing how they're gonna have to go through with this. But of course, they're here. They get the trade from Pittsburgh. I don't know why teams love trading with Plymouth, but there we go. So, who do you think really is going to be going for? Do you think they just want to go for Desdemona here, since this is outside of the lottery? while it's still a little bit high for my liking, if I was the Fox, it's not as bad.
Yeah, I mean, again, Desdemona is the best player left. I would not be shocked if they went with her, but at the same time, I mean, that would be building big. I mean, her at small forward, River at power forward. Um, they obviously have Trevor Cruz now at guard. Then, honestly, they might take. If I was Plymouth, I would trade. You got everything you need for the most part. You, especially since they already have Springer, maybe they could package Springer plus their pick for some big free agent that we don't know about. But
Hmm.
honestly, I wouldn't even pick here because there's no point guard left that I would really be jumping for joy at if I was Plymouth. Because what they need is a veteran to lead the rookies, not a rookie to be led by. I'm assuming the center will be Jake, but
Yeah, unless they go bold and go for St. Croix and pretty much have the same situation that they had in Seattle up there. So that could be a thing that they could do. Though that's again another little bit of a reach, but it's not that bad of a reach. So they could do some pretty wild things. I agree with you that they could possibly trade back or even trade out of the first round entirely if they're willing to probably get their next big player. But who's going to be willing to give um, the Taproot stat? Because obviously they're going to go big or go home at this point with the offers that we are aware of from the rumors. But again, it's going to be up to what they're going to do here.
mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it's a tough selection for them. I don't know what they're gonna go with, just because they have so many options, and on the other hand, they have so little that they actually really need if they're gonna get what they want.
Yeah, because as I said before, they have made offers to both the Snake and of course Cresta. So they want to go big or go home at this point. But if those don't pan out, like I don't really think that Cresta is gonna go walk away from Montana. I really don't think so. I think it's not. I really don't believe that that's going to be the case. So I personally think that Trevor makes a whole lot of sense, but possibly trying to get Snake coming from Seattle to Plymouth as well as Jays, because those two work very well together. That that could be a possibility. You don't really want to risk doing that,
Yeah,
but
I went ahead and stopped the clock to not explode because I think it is gonna be down to the wire. They might, like I said, be trying to get a trade going here at the last 11th hour. But we'll see from them. Well, announce when I see Hugo heading to the stage. Uh, but like I said, but it's a tough selection. They have the issue of having too many choices because they've already had their cake, they've had their icing, and I mean you could add the sprinkles, but you're just gonna get diabetes at this point.
I mean, hey, you can probably just add the ice creams if you want to. Shoot, it's just it is what it is. Um, it would be good. It would be very wise for them to see if they could possibly trade this pick for a pick next year if they want to go that route.
Hmm.
But that's a little bit of a long shot at this point of the draft.
Yeah, like I said, it's not it is really a long shot. I would imagine maybe they're talking about trading for a future pick because I mean they could take a gamble.
Yeah,
And
but
actually, hang on, I see Hugo hobbling towards the stage.
Hello, everyone. There has been a bit of a change, uh, a bit of trading going on here on the draft floor. Uh, the Plymouth Taproots have traded their number 11 pick to the Dakota Bikers for Samantha Kennetson and their number 22 pick. So I suppose the Dakota Bikers now will be picking for number 11. Thank you.
In the first official trade, and the Bikers, because time had expired, Dan will only have 2 minutes here to make their selection.
Hmm. Well, all right then. A trade was gonna happen eventually. I don't know if you guys actually legit believed when the commissioner was just like, "We're gonna have a clean draft, guys. No crazy shenanigans happening. Take everything with a pinch of salt, guys. No matter what."
Yeah, my alarm blowing up the poor audience, for example. um, the but let's quickly. They only have a short amount of time. The Bikers. What do we see them doing here? Because they just traded out to number 11.
It's very interesting. It's gonna be something that I honestly didn't really expect them to really be active in the draft because they really have a little bit of everything. To be honest with you, with this trade, this screams to me that they are willing to let Mika Mishima walk. I mean, of course, they have Jalen Rose as well. His future is a little bit uncertain now too. Um, but from here, honestly, they really need the bench depth more so than anything. I mean, sure, power forward would be nice to have. So I think by the end of it, I think it's going to possibly be Desdemona if they really want to go that route, or if they really want to be able to have a guaranteed backup point guard. They could go for Lisa if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, that was their biggest issue, obviously, but Rooney got them through that last month without Sylvius, but and actually as the time is about to clear, I think I see the commissioner ready to go. He hadn't had long to get back to the stage.
For the number 11 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Dakota Bikers select Duncan Cookie, a forward stout from Mustled, Michigan University. Congratulations to you, Duncan, on being the number 11 pick of the FBA Draft. I will return for the next pick when the Winnipeg Voyagers have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Huh.
Well, I think you are right, possibly considering that they may be expecting not to have Jalen Rose on the roster much more, and perhaps a backup in case Mika falls through.
Yeah. I don't know what else to really say at this point, but this is a little bit of a reach, I would have to say.
I'm looking at the board. Duncan was rated 12th. 17th. So a 6-spot reach, it looks like. Even though, considering the Queens, what they just did, I think anything a team does at this point is no longer a reach.
I mean, I guess the middle of the pack is where the real activeness is coming around in this draft. There's always going to be some shenanigans, as our commissioner would say.
Well, to be fair, again, looking at the board, our top 9 picks are off the board. Only top 8 picks, we had Nikolai at 10 off the board, so only Desdemona's left. So with the 11th pick now gone, she's only 2 spots from where she could if she gets picked at 12th by Winnipeg. So, like I said, is it a reach? Probably. Dakota probably didn't need anything in this draft, considering they just won a championship. But as we've seen, I think teams that rest on their laurels don't stick around.
Yeah.
So, jumping on to Winnipeg, though, a team that has a lot riding on this free agency, and actually, I think we're going to get a. Actually, hang on, I see Hugo already running back to the stage. This is a little early.
Yes, hello. There has been another trade here. The Winnipeg Voyagers have traded their 12th pick and their 2019 first-round pick and 1.5 million in their cap space for Las Vegas's Nikolai Volkov. So The next pick will be taken by the Las Vegas Wildcards. Thank you.
Well, damn.
Okay.
So while we let that digest, I think we have a guest in the studio. We're gonna need some help breaking this down here. Uh,
Huh.
I believe we have Wes Carey joining us from FSN
Mhm.
from the FAFL. I believe he just flew in all the way from Australia. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's from Melbourne, straight from Melbourne. Jeez, that was a long flight. Yeah, but wait, what was the name of that last guy? Was it the guy got traded? The Nikolai
Volkov.
Volkov. Okay, right. Thought it sounded like something similar. I'm like, what? But hey, glad to be here. Jeez, a few days ago I was calling the 2018 FAFL Grand Final. Finally, for the first time in 43 years, the Gold Coast Dragons actually win a Grand Final. Amazing.
Yeah, and so hopefully you've been able to keep up to date a little on the draft as it's been rolling.
Yeah.
We've just seen two big trades. Any thoughts on the trades that you just saw happen?
Well, I mean, I'm not exactly the biggest expert in the FBA, but I mean, with trades and that, like, using my experience from other leagues and that, like, these could be big trades, or these could end up just being pretty much just, they could end up being busts. I mean, you never know where these trades are going to go. I mean, blockbuster trades, even, like, some guy could do very well at one team and then just fall flat in their face at another one. So, I mean, for me, you got to see how these ones go. I mean, there could be a reason why these players are getting traded out for draft picks, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, obviously Winnipeg giving up a future pick for Volkov. So obviously with your FSN experience, I know you get to hear a bit about the league from other analysts. Any thoughts on the upcoming rookies? Are there any rookies left in the draft that you're excited about?
Cassius Waterson's definitely one of them. I mean, I saw the combine game that he played. I think it was the second one. He was with Andrew McDonald Rainbow, who got picked up, pick number 6 by the Firestorm, which I think would be a good fit for him. But I mean, he was able to tear it up with him. Like, if it wasn't for Waterson and it wasn't for McDonald Rainbow, I don't think that team would have been as dominant. So I think Waterson, I'd hope he goes some point in the top 24. Definitely deserves it. I mean, if you can get him a good point guard or a shooting guard to go with him, I think you got a good tandem there.
Yeah, the Big Otter definitely could be a difference maker for the teams, and I think actually I see the commissioner heading up. It looks like LVG knew who they wanted as they made a pick pretty quickly here.
For the number 12 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Las Vegas Wildcards have selected Isabelle Dupont, a god yellow-necked mouse from Sarapsida. Congratulations to you, Lisa, on being the number 20. Excuse me, the number 12 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I'll return for the next pick when the Edmonton Totems. Yes, no more trades. Yes, the Edmonton Totems have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Oh. Oh.
Well,
Honestly,
Jesus, I thought we just skipped a few picks there.
oh goodness. Well, it's not too much of a surprise here in my book. As I said, they really did needed a point guard more so than a big fur. And it was just a problem of pretty much their position of where they're gonna go. I feel like that this was a smart trade on Vegas's end, especially getting a future first round with that too.
yeah, now they maybe fleeced Winnipeg here. We'll have to see. As Wes had mentioned, Nikolai has a lot to live up to value-wise. But back to what you were saying, Wes, about Cassius. Looking at the next couple teams picking, the first team I see him possibly going to would be Montana, in fact, as Edmonton already kind of has their big set. With Edmonton, who do you think they might go for. It looks like they might need a forward to really shore up their starting lineup.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of picks they could pick up here. I mean, there's a huge list still. I mean, a lot of the top picks might have been gone, but I mean,
Yeah,
some guy might have not done well in the combine might get picked up, and I'm just trying to get the list up here. I mean,
yeah, some examples
look, I think,
to help you out, I guess, would be like Desdemona, who was ranked 9th, Alexa Francesca, who was ranked 11th, Katrina was 12th, and actually after that, the forward depth disappears because the rest are centers and guards.
You'd probably want to pick a forward in the next couple of picks, otherwise they could be all gone here. I mean, it seemed loaded with them, but I mean, now we're starting to thin out the herd here.
Yeah, the top picks were definitely heavy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hey, I'm glad my current client, Andrew McDowell Rainbow, I don't know if he'll be after this draft, but certainly I'm glad he got picked. Certainly, I mean, speaking of just the main draft, Terry O'Toole #1. That I expected that. I think you'd have to be stupid not to pick him #1.
Well, yeah. Speaking of your overall thoughts, do you think your McDonald landing in Lorraine is a good fit for him?
Yeah. I mean, that could be a good fit for him. I mean, the most I know about Lorraine at the moment is that I don't know, they've kind of been meddling for the last couple of years. I mean, they do have Asher Melbourne. She's a bit of a star down here, but I mean,
Well,
I don't think she's got very used to it. Oh wait, she's not there anymore. Yeah.
Remember, there was a huge issue after she was let go, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's what happens when you have big moves during the FAFL season. I'm not paying attention to it. Like, I've got my own things to pay attention to. Like, I've got East Sydney perhaps going for a finals thing. They get it. Like, that's my focus on that, not what's happening in the FBA at that point, because I'm hired to do FAFL stuff, not the FBA stuff. But, yeah, that's huge. So I think they have gotten their Australian presence back here at McDonald Rainbow. I mean, Edwin Grieger, I mean, they've been going well, right? I've heard stuff about
Edwin's
them.
been a good player for them, so I think, in my opinion, Andrew going to Lorraine was a good pickup. So, I mean, we'll also have to see how that works out with their guard rotation, because they have a few there. Have you, I mean, as you mentioned, you aren't necessarily super up to date on every single player in this draft, but has there been a pick so far that has really shocked you after we're halfway through this with the 12th pick just being done?
I would say Trevor Cruz going so late there. I mean, normally when you see some people, normally it's a fight for the top to try and get that pick, but I'm honestly surprised that he went so late. I mean, you're always kind of surprised when someone like that goes so late.
Yeah, Plymouth definitely getting a fleece job there with their second overall player getting all the way down to number 8. They could have picked him at number 4 and it would have been fine. So it's like Edmonton's clock is starting to wind down. We'll probably see the commissioner coming on stage once he's been handed the envelope. But I guess while we take a little bit of break waiting for that, any FAFL news besides obviously the championship that you want to talk about while you're on?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the CJ Willing Trophy count. I mean, we always have it on the Monday before the grand final. It was a very interesting count. I mean, there are a lot of favorites coming in. I think there was Faith St. Clair from East Sydney. There was Bayako from Brisbane. There were several others there that I can't really think of the top of my head. But in the end, we had Rocker McManus from Fremantle running away with the count, winning with 31 votes, with Sky Corvidae from Darwin. Great effort from him, considering his team was so low on the ladder this year. It managed to get 20 votes. I mean, it was a bit of a runaway count in the end, but I mean, I think credit where credit is due. I think if Sky Corvidae, if Darwin either picks up or he ends up another team that's a lot better than them, because I mean, Darwin on the wooden spoon this year, they were dead lost with a 2-16 record. I mean, if he can get a better team, I think Sky Corvidae could be a future Willing Trophy winner. I mean, this is the highest individual award for the FAFL. I mean, it's kind of like the MVP here in the FBA.
Yeah, with my knowledge of the as you can tell, I struggle just to say the FAFL,
The Fafalot.
the Fafalot, the Fafalot. So
Yeah.
I think maybe I see the commissioner getting ready to head up on stage in just a minute here.
That's him, Todd.
Actually, no, he looks a little confused there. I don't know. Maybe we'll keep talking.
Yeah, that's just. Yeah, I think he's a bit confused. Someone give him something to say.
Well,
or
you know what?
something.
You know what? At least they're probably making sure they didn't hand him the wrong envelope here, because that would be the kerfuffle of the night if he announced
Yeah.
another pork sandwich pick here. I mean, they
With
usually at
pick
least wait.
13.
Oh boy.
With pick 13.
That's a little
How long has this joke been going? It's been going for like 3 years now.
Oh, be quiet, Marcus. You know
Hey,
they
I
gave us
mean-
pork sandwiches for the catering for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
They do it just to
Jeez,
spite you. That's the problem.
Oh, of
Jeez.
course.
I need to get you to an FSN sometime.
Oh boy.
Whenever we're free, because honestly, it is a packed schedule.
Oh yes, indeed.
I know the feeling. I've just been through a packed schedule myself.
Ugh.
Christ.
Oh, and also, you're a little jet lagged. It's like a, 15-hour time difference between where we're at and where Australia, Melbourne is?
Pretty much. Jesus. And I gotta fly back to the Gold Coast because tomorrow I gotta cover the team coming in from the airport and that and the function they're gonna have at their own stadium celebrating it, because I mean, God, they got everything ready for that. I mean, suppose you've been waiting 43 years for a championship, you're gonna celebrate it.
Yep, and I do think I see a grumpy elephant heading to the stage now.
Mm-hmm. Oof. Yeah.
Sorry for the untimely delay. For the number 13th pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Edmonton Totems have selected Desdemona Iverson, a full-wood yellow perch from University of Eastern Ontario. Congratulations to you, Desdemona, on being the number 13 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I shall return shortly when the Montana Hallows have confirmed their selection. Hopefully without an empty envelope. Thank you.
So that's what the issue was. There was no pick in the envelope. Good thing he checked before he came on stage, because that would have been embarrassing.
Yeah.
Some intern just got fired.
Yeah. Jeez, I
Oh.
wish they did it like they did in the FAFL. Just send the GM up there. Okay, GM, you say it, or coach, or whatever you call him. Just send him up there, have him say the pick. It stops this guy coming up with an empty envelope going, wait.
Well, and then you have someone dress up as the GM and make a fool of themselves in front of everyone. But we are back on schedule. Montana now on the clock. I had mentioned before, they're a team that kind of needs a lot, but they definitely need the bigs. And you were talking about Cassius Watterson. This would be the place I think he goes. Obviously, St. Croix still on the board as well, but both of them arguably
I was
could
going
be
to talk about her in a second. I mean, I'm going to just say this. If she's a lot better behaved than Trent, she'll go far. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. I mean, Cousins probably a little bit better behaved. I know
Yeah.
she is not happy about the comparison to her cousin, but
And who would be?
Yep. So we'll have to just give her the. I think a lot of teams will have to, go with that mindset of how their interviews went with them, because
Mhm.
if they got any kind of whiff of being similar to Trent, they might have decided to move along. But I think she has the talent that she is worth still picking up here. So
Mhm.
Montana, this might be your player. Again, there's obviously Watterson, and even I always mess it up. It's Spiro.
Spear. Spiro,
SF.
SF. What?
He's
SF?
the Phoenix. The Phoenix is giving me trouble.
Spiro von Fatadas.
Spiro Fatadas is going to be the other third center that's really left in this draft, and poor Marcus is just over there crying. What do you think about a polar bear?
You have more trouble with names than I do on FSN, and I'm gonna try and call out the
Hey,
what's his name
don't-
from the UFFL.
Don't get on me because I am a Canadian that is not very good with pronunciations. Okay.
I was
It
talking
happens.
about Ryan, not you.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
okay.
he's for once I'm the one who's the bad one.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's okay.
You're doing fine. He needs
Yes.
some work.
You know what?
Granted, I need some work.
Look, rye bread's the best bread, clearly.
I thought plain white bread was.
Such a plain James.
Oh, man.
I'll say this: at least you're not trying to pronounce Hatta Gupta Frapta Ringa Garosalus Chagoga Gogmen
I'm just gonna stop you there. You can you keep practicing that.
Yeah,
was going really well.
Yeah, I believe in you,
This guy's
man.
got
I
probably the
believe in you.
longest name I've ever seen in my life, and he got drafted in the UFFL about 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, you try saying that.
And I think I actually I'm seeing the commissioner a little bit happier this time heading to the stage.
Yes, for the number 14th pick of the 2018 FBA draft, the Montana Howlers have selected Reagan St. Croix, center polar bear from Vanderbilt University. Congratulations to you, Reagan, on being the number 14 pick of the 2018 FBA draft. I shall return shortly when the Huntsville Mayors have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Not a shocking pick here. I kind of half called it again. Center definitely makes sense here, but awesome to see the polar bear do get off the board early. Obviously, we'll be looking forward to her in the future, seeing how she performs.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see that, I think.
Yeah. And I think with that, I am going to let you catch up on your sleep, Wes. I'm sure, despite the flight, you are probably horribly jet lagged. I believe it is 8 a.m. there, so
No, about 10:30.
lunch. 10:30. Oh,
Oh,
God!
wow.
Do you know what? You need to go. You need to go and catch up on brunch and
Thanks,
get to
man.
sleep.
Thanks for having me on. I got another flight to catch. Thanks.
Oh Lord.
Whew.
Best of luck
Get
to
lots
you.
of sleep, my man. That's all
Thanks.
I can say about that.
Yeah, thanks again for being on.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'll see you guys in the next FSN episode. It will be our first. Check out for that soon. Thanks for having me on.
And with that, 14th pick, we are a little over halfway done here. Now, moving on. Again, I don't know if you want to give your thoughts on how Wes drafting St. Croix here to replace probably Wes Scott.
Yeah, I think that it's pretty clear that they need the big help. Like, they really sorely missed Sterling last year, and that really did help them back. Even though they have played fairly well in the playoffs, the big help was sorely needed. So going for St. Croix is not a bad pick. I have nothing against it. It was a solid choice.
Yeah, definitely a good choice here with the highest rated center, obviously. And we'll quickly talk about Huntsville. They're back on the clock, back on the board. What are your thoughts in terms of where they should go? Because they just picked up. I mean, they literally just had a draft pick. But they just picked up Dragomir with the 9th pick, and now they're back on the clock here at the 15th. What do you think they really need now?
I still think you should probably target small forward, which of course is Alexa at this point.
Yeah.
She is probably the best pick for them, considering the fact that again, McCormick is the weakest link when it comes to the starting position, and really the position in general is fairly weak when it comes to depth, anyways. So I think going for Katrina here would be a smart choice.
Wait, you started with Alexa, but you're saying Alexa. However, you
Alexa,
also think Katrina would be maybe a better choice.
oh, not Katrina. Excuse me.
Yeah,
sorry.
because I'm sorry, you lost me there. I mean that
Caught me.
that
Alexa,
basketball
that's what I
brain.
meant. Yeah, it happens, man.
I
It
know.
happens.
I'm
Relax.
Look, I gotta make up. Wes
We
was
were
picking
just
on.
having an argument about you getting on people.
Wes was just picking on me. I am vulnerable
Yeah.
and I need to retaliate. So.
Yes, of course.
Um,
But yeah, I think Alexa will be the smart choice here. She is the best small forward technically, and they could play around that, especially if the case that goodness forbid if D'Angelo went down or Brown went down, she could most certainly fill up one of those spots pretty easily. They can probably play around with that a little bit more.
mhm.
So I think that going for the best available, who is a position of need as well, and plus the opportunity to try and play around with the roster a little bit more, I think that could be a good, solid pick. I'd be surprised if they didn't go there.
Yeah, and actually, I think I see the commissioner heading up on stage now.
For the number 15 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Huntsville Mayors have selected Alexa Francesca, a small forward shooting guard Black Panther from Los Angeles South College. Congratulations to you, Alexa, on being the number 15 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I shall return shortly when the Santa Ana Spectrums have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Well, you called it there, and I think we actually have another guest coming on, Tyler Witherspoon from FSN. Oh my lord, the acronyms are killing me tonight, Marcus.
See,
Thank you for
There you
joining
go.
me, Tyler, and I'm gonna go ahead and mute Marcus so I can stop being picked on, because that's my job, Marcus.
Wow. Okay, you don't like it when it
no
happens
mercy
to
for
you.
you tonight, is there?
Look, I have been off since the explosion at the 10th pick alarm going off. I have been on
Wow.
edge ever since then.
Oh man, this is even more entertaining than a nursing home.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, yes, I'm Tyler Witherspoon from FSN, and finally I got to meet my former co-host that you had on just a few minutes ago in face-to-face. We're normally on like Discord or Skype or whatever the kids are using these days whenever we record, but hey, good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I'm glad you got a chance to meet up on his way out to catch another flight already. I feel bad.
Yeah, I feel bad for him too. That's a long.
It is. So, your thoughts, Santa Ana? Well, I mean, what was your opinion on Alexa going here at 15? Obviously, first.
I think it's a smart choice because Mayors need a little bit of backup in the swing for position. I think, quite honestly, and they got a good pickup with the Black Panthers, so heck, it could be a good pick. As for Santa Ana, I have no idea what they're gonna pick yet.
I mean, Santa Ana with 2 picks within a 5. Well, I mean, obviously they have the 16th pick, and then I believe the 19th pick due to the trade with Baltimore. This is actually, I think, there's too much trading. There were too many picks on the board between the two of them.
Yeah, they have the 20th pick and the 16th pick with Baltimore.
Yeah.
20.
And then Baltimore traded back into the top first round, I believe. So who knows what's going to go on.
That's number 19. That's honestly been my surprise this evening before you ask. Just all the trading that's been going on. It's not as big as the UFFL that my co-host hinted at earlier. That was trades galore. You get a trade, you get a trade, you get a trade. We're not even in the second round yet, and we're still getting trades.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, this year has been much calmer in terms of trades. I mean, we talked about the last couple seasons, the top 5 picks shuffling around so much. Here, the first trade didn't come in until the 11th pick, and even then, I guess technically you could say eventually with Winnipeg trading their pick for the 7th selection, but even that wasn't too much of a... That was a late shock. So obviously...
Yeah, Didn't they also trade from one of their picks for next year
They
too?
did. They gave up a future pick, so either they are expecting to have a successful season and not have to worry about um, a high pick next year, but that could also come to bite them in the ass if Winnipeg
Yeah,
ends up
because
missing again.
let's not forget they're in the one of the most interesting divisions in the FBA. They have the Dakota Bikers, who are the current champions. They got Arizona, that's still on a rebuild. They got the Texas Lone Stars that are slowly building up their roster.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say they're finding an
possibly being a
identity
contender.
still,
Yeah,
but they have talent. That's the thing. Both those teams have talented pieces, and outside of Dakota, it really is a fight for who's second in that division, and whoever
it
gets
is
second will pretty much make the playoffs that season. So, um,
pretty much. Yeah,
so looking at SAS's roster real quickly, they have their point guard locked up. They're going after Lee Jin Sung. They have Seba as power forward, and they're obviously going after Tyrese. So really, I think the position they lack the most is shooting guard. But
that sounds about right, actually.
yeah, but there's no guard on the board really left that's a shooting guard. I only see point guards in Paul Driscoll and Josiah Ide. So I mean, Kiara Hughes maybe, but
Do you think it's possible they could probably reach down into the cusp or even beyond the cusp?
they definitely could. I mean, also they might go for a backup center if in case they lose Tyrese. They're so late in the round they could go after Watterson or maybe even Rudy Maloney. But it with them at this point, they have a lot of the players there. They're just trying to keep what they got, so they can't offend anyone. I think is their problem.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. It'd be either a shooting guard or even a backup center because they got Tyrese Bond, like you said, and you never know when the injury bug might hit you, like a bullet that hit me in the leg in Vietnam. That's a long time ago, but they don't really got a lot of center depth except for Wesley Matter, and it looks like wait, do they still have Reggie Duvall or
I think they
did they
traded
get
him. I don't even know with him. Reggie Duvall is not under contract, so he could be gone.
Oh,
And actually, I
yeah,
think I see
so
Hugo heading to the stage now.
here we go.
For the number 16th pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Santa Ana Spectrums have chosen Katrina Cohn, a forward horse from Dublin, Ireland. Congratulations to you, Katrina, on being the number 16 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. Shall return shortly when the Williamsburg Minutemen have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Okay, what?
So they did end up drafting a forward, and that might have been out of concern for Jin Sun Lee, or as a backup. Because looking at so if we look at their backup depth for power for small forward, I see Dorian Black, who really hasn't been that great of a player. He's usually been their starting shooting guard, and even he has struggled there. Jesse Nagoyan or Gloria McFang, both players have not really stood out much as rookies on their contracts. So it might be a gamble just to try and get a backup small forward at this point.
Yeah, and you also have Michael Porter. That's also a forward center, but he's not a small forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming
So
they're looking for backup for Jin Sun here.
that's not really a bad move if you think about it. It's definitely a big question mark, but at the same time, it's like now you have depth at that small forward position, and you can actually do a lot of damage to other teams with that.
Yeah, like I said, it's an interesting pick. I want to get on Marcus's opinion on this. Marcus, what do you think about SAS picking a small forward here at this spot?
I'd say it's a little bit of a shocker, I think, considering it for Santa Ana, they don't necessarily have really any weaknesses, but it's just like they don't have any very strong players. There's not really any player on that team that is considered a stud, and considering some of the rumors of them really wanting to see if they can trade up, so far nobody has bid. They have to pretty much like pick the best players available. And considering that, as you said, the guard depth is you can't really add more guards. It's just no way of doing that. So, we can, even though the fact that this player is a small forward more so, um, she is a little bit on the heavier side as well, being 250 pounds.
Well,
so,
she's also a horse. So.
True, you're right.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's definitely an intriguing one.
yes, and we'll go ahead and jump on over to the Williamsburg Minute Women, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Kiara Hughes will be off the board because she is the highest rated female left in the draft.
What position does she play?
Guard, doesn't matter. Highest rated female.
True.
Gotta continue the Minute Women
theme.
I kind of doubt that because
it's true.
if you look at the roster, they have Vera Latiera, Crystal Davis. Let's see who else they got. Michaela Marley.
Yeah, no, I mean
And
Marcella Oliviero, they're
They got a
stacked
lot of guard depth.
at all positions, really. So I mean, they could go for a forward here just to back up a Renee if she ends up leaving, but it's really hard to say.
They might also go for some big depth because I've heard a rumor through my sources and some of my contacts that possibly Leonard Mack may not be coming back next year or this season.
Oh, that would be interesting if he does jump ship.
It would be very interesting indeed if you think about it.
Well, that'd be one less
what else would
Fox
they need?
center they have because they had the McLeod combo that they had going for a while there with Mac was a little crazy. I think they were close to the Underwood rule, I felt like, just because of the number of Foxes and Canines they have on their team.
Not quite yet. I'm looking at the roster right now. They got 1, 2, 3.
They're at
They're
5.
under.
They're at 5.
They're 5.
Vera's a
I'm
Fox. McLeod, yeah, they have, yeah. So they're close. They need to be careful. But I think I see Hugo heading to the stage now, actually.
Yes, for the number 17 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Williamsburg Minutemen have selected Tenma Aozora, a forward kitsune from the University of Tokyo. Congratulations to you, Tenma, on being the number 17 pick of the 2018 draft. I will return for the next pick when the Tennessee Moonshiners have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
So another Foxy companion for the Williamsburg. Now we're going to have to rename them the Foxes at this rate, not the Minutemen.
What is there? Fox men or Fox women, something like
Well,
that?
they have more women than men, and especially if Mac leaves, they might literally be replacing a forward center Fox with a forward Kitsune at 6'11". He is definitely tall enough to play power forward, but a little light at only 205 pounds.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So with that, Tennessee is on the clock. I mean, we can obviously, if you want, talk more about this pick, but as you kind of hinted at, if Mac does leave, this pick makes a lot of sense going forward.
It does, because Mac was... Yeah, what year is Mac in, actually? I need to look that up, or someone needs to look that up real quick.
He's been around for a while, and I guess we can start moving, and I think he's been around for a decade almost. He's an old man at this point. He was 2006, so this is his 13th season going forward.
Yeah, this might be either his farewell tour, or it might be possibly him probably decided to hang it up early, because you never know.
Yeah, technically he hasn't announced a retirement yet, but could always change. And I guess as the clock starts to wind down, 3 minutes some left for the Tennessee Moonshiners. Let's talk about their team who, I mean, they traded for Barsky. Basically, their lineup is set now. Wouldn't you agree?
I would actually say so. Their lineup's pretty solid right now. They got Barsky. They got rid of Noah Brown. I don't know what they're going to do with Marion Wallstein or Merrill Providence. Those two have been like anchors for the team for a little while.
Well, I mean, they only have 2 spots open, and those are 2 picks. I think, actually, they only have 1 pick this was a protected pick because they kept trading their first round away, so they're forced to take a pick here.
Yeah.
So they only have one spot.
I think they just might pick for depth, probably.
Yeah, I'd say maybe a guard here, even though they have Savoy and Bobby Bryan still on the roster as guards, and even to be fair, the one player they have offered a contract to was Merrill Providence, who will probably come back and maybe be the starting shooting guard for the team. So honestly, best available at this point, and according to my sheet, the best available is Kiara Hughes because Katrina was taken at 16, so that would leave Kiara Hughes the highest player, or Cassius Watterson at 16 overall.
That sounds about right. What about your thoughts? The other guy, I forget his name. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry.
Oh, geez. Now I'm going to be forgetting. That's great.
I mean, would you rather be called Bobby? Hey, Bobby Baylor.
You know what? Screw you, okay? Well, for me, I think Cassius is probably going to be the best bet for them, considering that since Miriam Wellstein is heading out, most likely I don't really expect her to come back. And literally, as you said, the team is pretty much set for the most part. But to probably just get a possible replacement for Miriam would not be too much of a surprise for me. So I think Cassius would be the smart choice.
Yeah, that makes sense in terms of trying to fill out that depth. I mean, looking at their roster, though, they do have a fairly decent backup in Eli Shuck and obviously Trent Mosley, who they traded with BLV. So they have two bigs still in their backcourt that they can play with. I would say a forward would make sense, a power forward if possible, but if we're going to go with that route, I think Rudy makes the most sense.
A power forward might make sense because I think all they have at the power forward position is Hal Dufresne, and he's been solid for the team. And
Trent can play
Trent
power
can
forward,
also play that too,
but it's a little iffy.
Yeah, it's a little iffy for him.
He's built like a center, so I will.
Also, keep in mind currently I'm just looking at their lineup right now, and looks like Darius Cole's right now the starting center, or that's just a placeholder for now. I don't know.
Yes, they did start him. They want both in because I mean they have a lot of options they can go with there in terms of how they rotate the two Gators, because they have a very good amphibians depth at the forward position. So I do think I see Commissioner Livingstone coming up to the stage now.
For the number 18 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Tennessee Moonshiners have selected Kiara Hughes, a guard-spotted leopard from Savannah River University. Congratulations to you, Kiara, on being the number 18 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I'll return for the next pick when the Baltimore Spirits have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
There you have it.
Yep, the best player was picked, even though I don't know if it was necessary. I had mentioned guard at the start, but I talked myself out of it with the power forward selection there at the end. But obviously, the top-rated player taken off the board that was still left, now that leaves Cassius at the 16th ranked player as the highest player still available.
And this draft keeps moving along.
Yeah. With looking at the Baltimore Spirits, who traded back up into the first round, if I remember correctly, because they had given away their first pick to Santa Ana, and I believe some kind of cap buyout to get rid of some of their players. I think Victor Vos was involved with that. Looking at Baltimore, they did a sign-and trade for Jerome Swimmer, potentially locking up their starting point guard now. And obviously they have Umechi, and they're trying to keep Toivonen. And with Hartnett still as the starting center, I think that leaves the shooting guard position again as a player that's needed. And unfortunately, we just saw a shooting guard go off the board with Kiara. And the next guard period would be Josiah, who I don't know if he is really a primary shooting guard. I think he's more of a primary point guard. So what does Baltimore do here now?
I honestly have no clue. Baltimore's right now one of the teams that has the most roster spots to fill from the look of things. They only got 1, 2, 3,
Five.
4, 5 players under contract right now currently, and the rest are just empty holes right now. Although there is probably, we saw on Twitter earlier that one of their players from last year, Lindsey Morrison, said she made her decision, but she's going to wait till after the draft to announce it. She might have signed back with Baltimore. She might have signed with the other team. What was it? Tallahassee. That's what it was. So you never know. She could jump back with the Spirits that jump back to the Spirits that eliminate possibly a guard position that you could probably pick up in the draft, or I don't know. You could probably pick up a shooting guard just in case she jumps ship or to Tallahassee and says sayonara.
Yeah, we could see a reach here going into the cusp for like Bailey Rivera, or I'm not even going to try saying it, EBB. I'm just going to call her EBB because Atene Baraboyette is going to be a tongue twister, even if that is close to what is her name. I apologize. So, Marcus, what do you think in terms of pick here?
It's certainly interesting to see what they can go with. I believe, since of course they have gotten their starting point guard here, well, possible starting point guard in Jerome with the Baltimore trade, they could easily go for shooting guard just for safety. Because I mean, I don't think if Morrison does decide to return, that it would be that big of a scare if someone this late in the draft gets picked here as a shooting guard. So, but as you said, that there really isn't a shooting guard really available who's mainly playing that role. They could possibly go best available to just say,
Cassius.
it's whatever. So I think Cassius could be a good pick here. As Eric Toivonen probably wouldn't be too, wouldn't be thinking some type of way considering that point.
Yeah.
And with Quintessa Hartnett not being
She's
on her
aging.
last year of her contract, and she's getting older as the years goes on, I think that Cassius would be the smart choice.
Yep, and I think I see Livingstone heading onto the stage now.
For the number 19 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Baltimore Spirits have selected Spiro Fotiadis, center Phoenix, from Solna, Sweden. Congratulations to you, Spiro, on being the 19th pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. Next up will be the Santa Ana Spectrums, followed by the Alaska Arctics. Thank you.
That's a surprise pick.
Well, as Marcus was alluding to, I think they might have been starting to look for a replacement center going forward with Quintessa retiring, assumingly in the next couple years. Obviously, Cassius was rated a little higher than Spyro, 16 compared to 18, but it's not that much of a reach to go with Spyro here. And I actually think we're going to be bringing in another guest in a little bit, or very shortly. And so I'd like to thank you, Tyler, for joining us here tonight. And I hope to get you on tomorrow, possibly, with the second round as well.
I should hopefully be on tomorrow, yeah.
Awesome. So definitely thank you for coming out tonight. Anything you want to say before you head off?
Good luck to the rest of the rookies in the first round, and hopefully I'll be interviewing one of you guys in the near future for FSN.
Yes, hopefully they will take you up on that offer, and I will see you tomorrow probably. Have a good night, Tyler.
You too.
And back to SAS on the clock now. No idea who they're going to go with. They were a little shocking going with the power forward here, but they could still grab a shooting guard. And I think now, in just a minute, we're going to be bringing on Jack Cantor. I'm going to see if we can get him wired up and get his little wit going. Hey, Jack Cantor, are you all mic'd in now?
Villains are all the ages. FSBN is proud to present to you the reigning, defending, Spotty, that's Sports Personality of the Year champion, Johnny, of the world, Jack Cantor. How you doing, guys?
I'm sorry, I'm waiting for the fireworks to go off.
Did they not go off?
No.
Fucking fucking Jimmy.
That's one strike.
Sorry. I tried to light the firework, and they didn't go off.
That boy.
It's probably for the best. I don't think the fire marshal would have been too happy with any of us if that had gone off. So, Mr. Cantor, we have seen almost 20 picks of the first round go by. What has been your surprise tonight?
Okay, where do I start? Albany, great job. You had a slam dunk. You didn't make the dumb pick. Good for you. Good for you. You get a lot of points for not doing the dumb thing. Texas, I know you like your big summers, but you didn't have to pick one. Sorry. Howlers, amazing. Okay, so Trent got a lot of bad rap, but he did good. I mean, I love Trent. He came in, he dominated, he dropped the mic. He's the only one that actually was able to shut down Turner in the combine. I don't have a problem with it. She could be the queen. She could be the law firm. We could love her. She's saying you can't be similar to Trent. She could be better than Trent.
Well, I mean, yeah, hopefully she's better than Trent personality-wise. I mean, I don't mind a vocal person, but...
She can have the personality of a doormat for all I care. Does she put the ball in the hoop? Good. That's all I want. That's all anyone should want. And the last one, Winnipeg.
Defense.
What did Winnipeg do? I get that like Canada has a lot. They give out things. They're very liberal. They like to give everything, but they should be apologizing. And I know the Canadians are really good at apologizing for that pick. They moved up like 4 or 5 spots for what? What? A? Is that what they say? Is that the right word? A? What was this pick? What did they do? The dumbest move?
Oh, I mean, they definitely gave a lot here, so there is going to be a huge amount of pressure on them to actually show that they did not just buy the farm here tonight. Actually sell the farm. They didn't even buy anything. They gave it away.
Like if you look at like a value beta conversion ratio of what you look at the big board, you don't give up a first round pick that's probably going to be like a top 3 pick next year. Let's be honest, Winnipeg is can I burn a strike? No, not too early. Okay.
I mean, you
got
got another
to dump out again.
We got 5 more picks. You have very little time to burn it.
I don't understand how you trade a first round. Probably going to be a top 3 pick next year because Winnipeg. Look, Yevis, you're great if assuming he comes back. The Fox Party. They're good. They're not good though.
Yeah. Well, we'll dive back into that. I think the commissioner's ready for the next pick.
For the number 20 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Santa Ana Spectrums select Rudy Cohen Maloney, a center forward woolly rhinoceros from Great Lakes Mammalia. Congratulations to Rudy on being the number 20 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return for the next pick when the Alaska Arctics have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
So, Santa Ana going with a big fur here. A little surprising, they just picked up a forward that was quite heavy herself at 250 pounds. Now they picked a big fur at 307. Going big, I guess, for the Santa Ana Spectrums.
See, I don't get this, because didn't we just have a champion win that didn't have, like their best player was that deer, right?
Which deer?
The Dakota deer. Okay, yeah, I know it's not specific. we saw a lot of the deer.
The taller deer? The shorter deer?
They're all pretty big. They're the deer.
Okay,
You
the
saw a
deer.
very quick and nimble Dakota team. And I thought we were going to see a trend more towards speed, because speed tends to kill. You have a 3-point shooter type style game. No, let's just put the 500-pounders in there. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, I mean, can you argue against? I mean, yes, Seattle did not make it to the finals, but they had arguably the best front court with two over 300-pound players. I mean, Jake is still pretty agile at his size. I mean, we don't know Wooly Rhino 307 might be a little bit thicker than a Fox, but
Do you have a stats guy here? Can we get a stats guy to see if Turner is over 3 fat or under 3 fat? I have no idea at this point. But and I was wrong about him. I called him an idiot. I said he was terrible. I said he should have went like 18th or something. I was wrong. That's the one I was wrong with. But you think that Dakota should have maybe
You mean Santa Ana?
inspired? No. I meant Dakota.
Oh, you meant Dakota inspired.
Dakota would have inspired the league to go with faster players, to go with more agile, have a bit of a 3-point movement.
I mean,
Not what I'm seeing tonight. You see the chubby checkers out there in force. That's what they like.
Well, I will have to point out with Santa Ana, they don't really have a lot when it comes to big for depth, so they might be trying to fill in that scenario a little bit.
I mean, we're also the 20th pick here, Jack. I mean, yes, they could just draft speed, but they do have Addy, and I would agree. I think they should have gone for a shooting guard here. There's a couple shooting guards on the board still, even if they had to reach a little into the cusp, or maybe some of the gems that are hiding in the second round, they could have found one.
Well, I think it comes into play that they are probably believing in last year's first round pick, Killian Belmont, because he has started a little bit as well in the shooting guard. Granted, he has been inconsistent, but they probably have faith in him that he'll be able to hold his own next year.
Yeah, Delmont, the best Cougar in the league, right?
No.
Too many similar
Oh,
names.
goodness.
That causes problems here.
Yeah,
Killian definitely actually stepped up from his... He took over for Black partway through the season and was surprisingly good despite being a rookie, like you mentioned. But that's over and done with. We are on to Alaska. Jack, who are they taking?
You're taking Katarina Hewen. Calling it right now. I have it in my envelope.
Oh, you have an envelope?
What? Katrina Kuhn is
Katrina
already gone.
I would really the sheet who update the big board. Whoever's working on this. Yeah, you. I see it highlighted. Yep, crossed out. Yep. Amateur hour. All right, who's the next person that starts with a K? Your
Cassius.
I was gonna say that some of these names were really good. They were simple. Terry O'Toole, Trevor Cruz, and now we have
Water.
Commissioner is walking up. Great.
No, he's not.
Damn it.
Nice try. But there are lots of K names still left to go. We have Caden Lightfoot, Kendrick Kaminsk, Kelsey Kaminsk, and Cassius Watterson, for example, just to name a few Ks, and Keenan, Kelsey.
Every year.
I mean, have you not seen the Abadulai name yet?
Mothers of America, and I hope Canada
And every country
wherever.
in the world.
Every country in the world. Just start naming your kid a symbol and telling me what it means. It's going to be faster.
Or, if you want to become honestly, I think at this point, players with names that make it hard for us to say almost refuse to change their names for us just to watch us laugh. Watch them laugh. God, I'm having a stroke.
Someone named Mark Rain Hagen, and he had a dot between Ray and Hagen, and the dot represented, and I'm not even joking about this, the hollowness that one feels as a person. How do you, I'm not even, oh!
And I finally do see Hugo heading to the stage now. Alaska's pick is in.
For the number 21 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Alaska Arctic select Kendrick Kaminsk, a forward center snow leopard from Atlanta Philadelphia University. Congratulations to you, Kendrick, on being the number 21 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return shortly when the Dakota Bikers have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
Commissioners lost. They've traded their pick to Plymouth. But the Plymouth Taproots are on the clock for the 4th time tonight, despite trading earlier in the draft.
I swear, if we just say Plymouth one more time, I'm probably just gonna bash my head against them.
So,
Anyways,
Seattle
does-
trading it to Plymouth is going to be a bad thing, right?
Yeah, very bad thing.
probably, most likely.
Did Seattle trade Jake to Plymouth?
Not yet.
Don't care.
Well, I mean, Jake is clearly on the market, so even though I think we just heard some news over the wire, maybe, that maybe a team was pulling out, Seattle maybe pulling out of Jake.
What?
That's at least I'm getting like some tweet updates or some DMs about possibly, even though if that means that's the case, then Plymouth might just get handed Jake in the offseason. You know, they're paying $26 million a year is not being handed anything, to be honest.
That would be wonderful. I would not want to be Seattle the next time they play Plymouth then.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be Bangor, Albany, Queens if Jake is now in that division. Oh man.
I will say I like this pick, the big first snap. I've looked at some. Wait, this isn't Alexander. All right, so this is a good snap. He's gonna be good for the team. He's gonna be way better than the last power forward Alaska had. Might have been a couple years back, but
yeah, I was gonna say
the
because
best one in decade.
might be a little while to develop.
He's
I mean,
gonna
obviously,
be the best power forward Alaska has had in over a decade.
Okay, calling it now, Cantor. How
Like
have you?
everyone else that's played power forward for Alaska in the last decade, useless, terrible.
Oh Lord, how has your insurance rate on your car, by the way?
I had a bear attack me.
Yeah.
They've yet to find him.
Well, I mean, Marcus, do you happen to know of a polar bear that may have attacked Cantor?
I don't know. I can't keep up with every polar bear in the world.
That
I
played
don't know.
for Alaska?
I mean, there are plenty of polar bears in Alaska.
Okay.
I knew one. That's it. One memorable one.
I
and
mean,
he's
you
like,
can't.
I mean,
you can't.
Marcus clearly wasn't memorable as a player.
Wow,
Marcus,
wow!
wait,
you
you
really
played?
had to win there. You
played?
really had to go there.
Oh no,
Where did
Jack
you
and I
play?
have officially.
Oh man,
decimated.
yeah, yes, I totally have played. I've played for a good bit.
To be fair, you've made more
I
money
thought
than
you were
I have
just
ever made,
chubby.
Marcus. So keep that in mind.
Exactly, please.
Keep
no,
that in
shut your
mind. Your mansion is far better than my dingy, less than 6-figure a year salary position gets me.
okay,
Anyways,
this is some
Texas.
seriously big car.
Or
He has
Plymouth.
massive claws.
Plymouth is on the clock. Who are they picking here? Because they have struggled. Not really. Because they've already made 2 excellent picks, honestly, with Trevor sliding to them down at number 8. They have not had the same luck, though. Perhaps Cassius sliding from 16 might be a pick.
So here's the question. If you're Plymouth, do you take someone that might fill a role that you might get? They might get Kenny. They might get Cresta. They might get Jake. Do you take another player that might overlap that's just sitting on the bench?
Yes.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, at this point, there's always going to be overlap, I think.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I feel like Hosea could be a pretty interesting choice. Like I said, they do need the guard depth in general, anyways. So why not just go in swinging and go for Hosea? Is it Hosea or Hosea? I'm not sure.
See, these names
Yeah, I mean,
are the devil.
I mean,
Oh, you're not wrong.
see, you guys don't realize one of these days there's going to be a couple draftees that are an incantation to actually summon the devil, and then that's when Plymouth will turn it around and actually win a championship after that.
So I don't have to press F to pay respect anymore for them.
What is this pressing of F? I keep seeing this.
It's like one of those memes that those kids keep saying,
What's a meme?
trying to be hip.
Speaking
you a
of
meme?
being hip, looking at God, that sounds really gay. The commissioner's coming on stage.
For the number 22 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Plymouth Taproots have selected Martin Krellinger, a point guard, shooting guard. prairie dog from Muscle University of Michigan. Congratulations to you, Martin, on being the number 22 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I will return for the next pick when the Texas Lone Stars have confirmed their selection. Thank you.
I have a question.
No.
Why is it that every time the commissioner comes up there, he sounds like he's out of breath and he just ran like 20 miles?
I was going to say
he's-
that he sounds more and more tired as
He's
the farther we get in.
let the poor guy be. He has to walk up 3 steps.
Wow.
At his
Like-
age, and I mean he's an elephant. He's not as spry as he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
Sure. Great. Cool.
Texas traded back into the first round earlier this week with Bangor. Bangor no longer in the first round. Does that mean Texas has their eye on someone here that they have been keeping their fingers crossed for? And who is it if that's the case? Or are they just trying to find cheap talent at this point?
Let's see. Jimmy update the board.
Nope.
He did not.
It's okay. Jimmy will be fired.
Oh.
No, he won't. Jimmy is
Yes.
unfireable.
People say that
If
every year.
things have been proven, he is unfireable.
At this point, you just take whatever you can get. I mean, Texas is in sort of a group of doom right now, and they're going to be struggling for. Again, they're putting all their hopes on being successful in the summer, and I don't think they're going to have a good summer.
Well, I mean, like I said, they have a large roster pretty much already set up. Honestly,
Yeah.
Center here. I see Cassius coming off the board.
I would agree with you here, considering the fact that, as I did mention in one of my, in one of the stories that I wrote, whatever, it's pretty much.
It was a
big-
story, yes, we know.
That was they don't really have a lot of faith in the bigs that they have currently, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try to look for someone who is tradable. Sure, at this late in the game, it is pretty hard to really see I wouldn't say any future, but a strong future with this team. But we have seen plenty of players who wasn't even drafted to begin with become the studs that they are now.
Yeah, I mean, especially Texas. Marcus Knight, very reminiscent, undrafted, has become the face of the Texas Lone Stars. Perhaps needs some support to actually get them somewhere, or he might just be the shiniest turd of the group, but I didn't say that.
Don't they have like 8 sharks or fish on their team?
They have a lot of fish. At one point, it looked like it was going to be nothing but fish for...
Doesn't that? And they have 2 otters.
They do,
So
and
their-
they actually could
Their
have a...
front court is 2 fish, or 3 fish and 2 otters. Am I right?
If Sekford's not playing,
And no one thinks this is weird.
well, do you not understand? That's how they get the bigs to move faster.
Wow, I cannot
Okay,
believe you
okay.
said that.
I mean, what's the better motivation than 2 otters dribbling up the court behind you to run faster as a
This
fish?
isn't species, this is it? Because I've already been flagged once. They've offered to take away my Spotty award. I want my Spotty
They
award.
gave us a half strike for that one. I don't know. I didn't know they could do that. I guess they just gave us a line. Or is that a middle finger? I can't tell.
It's a flipper.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Anyway,
Oh,
but
poor
they
Marcus.
have
this
Addy.
conversation-
They have Wesley. They have Kiro Kurosaki.
Kitara Kurosaki, yes, the shark.
KK.
They also,
Yup.
I mean, they also have a shark chasing after 2 fish, probably. Anyways, I think Hugo. I think I see him starting to get up on stage to announce the 23rd pick. We're only 2 picks away from the end of the first round here tonight, guys.
For the number 23 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Texas Lone Stars have selected Nigel Conway, forward guard Kakikum, Kako Missile from Fur Bay State. Congratulations to Nigel on being the number 23 pick of the 2018 FBA Draft. I shall return shortly with the Seattle Summit pick as the last pick of the evening. Thank you.
Well, reaching outside, Cassius Watterson still on the board at 16 now. Whew.
I think Seattle takes them.
That's what I'm saying. I was about to say, like, if they just
Seattle needs a center.
If what's true is that they have DQ, but they need a forward center, unless they don't plan to keep DQ around for much longer either. But
his knees.
Yeah, if Cass does not come off this board, I'm gonna be really shocked here.
Well, so let's look at the top 24 remaining, and it's always this case that there are some players that get left to day 2 that were top 24. We have Josiah Ide, a guard, at 19. Obviously, Cassius Watterson, already mentioned, a center at 16. Paul Driscoll, a guard, at 22. And Mason Lowe, a center, at 24. Another option for Seattle right here might be to go after Lowe. Lowe or Cassius, even though Cassius being rated 16, might unfortunately put Lowe off to the second day, just because, unfortunately, there's another center that's much higher rated. If it was a little closer, but Seattle might surprise us because both of them are 7'6" and quite large in terms of replacing Jake.
Those are a very big set of shoes someone has to replace.
I mean, yes, very much so. And looking at, like I said, their roster, even they could make a lot of choices here. Yes, they have Jerry at point guard, assumingly. Their entire roster is off contract next season. So they might have to go long term here. And every position might need to be replaced eventually.
I mean, if they don't get Kinney, and apparently they're giving up on Jake, that's news to me. My sources have not confirmed or denied this. And they still have Jerry. They still have Nico. I think are getting Wallstein. That's not a terrible pick. They could still make some noise, but I don't see any upgrades to compete with Dakota, who isn't really losing anything.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle might be a top 5 pick next year.
Like, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think you will get Dakota in there again, and if the West is completely open. The West is completely open.
Well, especially for the Pacific Rim division.
When is it?
The Kaiju division? What?
Like
Oh wait, sorry, wrong movie.
Oh, okay.
Ugh. Like, I don't know. Seattle, they're in good shape. They still have an 8-footer in the court. They're just losing another one. I mean, they're still going to be good, but their time is ticking unless they make a move. Maybe they trade out. Maybe they get a pickup. Maybe they have some backdoor pocket magic. Maybe they get Kinney again, who's just been underrated left and right. I honestly don't know. I mean, this is a team that needs to make a move. They came within 2 games of the finals last year. They just couldn't do it. And if they aren't moving up, they're losing ground.
Yeah, like I said, it's not going to work out for them if they don't claw back the pieces that they have in free agency this year. I mean, even if they get Kenny back, losing Jake will be a death sentence almost to whether or not they make it inside the top 4 for the division, the conference. They'll probably drop all the way down to 6th or 7th seed. So,
yeah. Well, there are plenty of bigs in free agency as well that they can easily pick up if they are deciding to let go of Jake. Because remember, this big for class free agency wise is packed, and I mean packed. So who knows? Maybe if the rumors are true, and depending on what we're going to hear in free agency signings, because they do officially start after the draft. Who knows? They might actually just start throwing a whole bunch of money just to another big that could possibly fill in that role for Jake, which obviously is still pretty big, but it's not as big of a hit.
I mean, it's tough, and actually I think I see Hugo coming on stage now for the final pick.
Get this man some water after this.
For the last pick of the first round of the 2018 FBA Draft, the Seattle Summit have selected Reese Penukup from Hershey, Excuse me.
think someone messed with his card again.
You know, a heart attack is great for ratings.
I mean,
What?
an aneurysm is also great for ratings.
Why?
We're just going to obviously joke ballot away.
I swear, if this is another ham sandwich.
Thank you very much. Yes, the last pick of the first round definitely was not Reese Peanut Coop from Hershey, Pennsylvania. It is Paul Driscoll, a point guard Purdue from Swansea Academy. Thank you, and congratulations to Paul Driscoll on being the last pick of the first round of the 2018 FBA Draft. And thank you all for coming this evening. We shall convene tonight and reconvene tomorrow at the same time to start the second round. Thank you, and good night.
So, they picked the smallest player left instead of the tallest. Seattle change up, I guess, is the play here. Even though I guess they are concerned about Jerry not being a long-term solution for the team.
Yeah, I think considering that Jerry has been in the league for a good amount of time, I believe this is her 7th, maybe 8th. I could be wrong on that.
Sounds about right. I mean, she's been around longer than Jake has, but
Oh, most certainly.
like I said, she's definitely found her niche in the team. But I think with if it is true that Jake is not going to be pursued by Seattle, that they are having to find a new face of their team. I don't think this 24th pick is necessarily who they're thinking, but long term, they need to find a long-term solution at point guard, and Jerry is not the answer, I think. Kenny might be, but it's a question mark if he's going to return right now. So at the very least, getting a backup plan going is smart for Seattle.
I would agree.
I have never seen this player. Like, literally, like, I don't look down. It's a rule.
Wow.
Oh, my Lord. So, that's 24 picks done. Marcus, surprise pick of the draft.
I think the surprise pick of the draft, honestly, will have to be the Queen's pick. Antoinette Barraquin. I'm saying that right. That's clearly the biggest shocker, considering that is the 10th pick, and there were so many players who a lot of people felt that are more skilled, especially in her position. But you know, she is a sibling of her brother.
I hope she's a sibling of her brother.
Yeah. But yeah, considering that she has a sibling who is also who has been a stud in Lee Barraquin, it's going to be interesting to see how things go in that retrospect. Who knows? Maybe this could be a way for bring in Lee so they can have a little bit of a brother sister star power going,
or a fight on the floor.
I mean, hey, sometimes the strength of siblings can be pretty powerful. I can tell that from personal experience.
Yep.
Really?
I was gonna say, how long were you playing with Bobby? But I'm not gonna start that argument.
Okay?
Let us go to Cantor.
Yeah, I was about to have a strike by the end of this goddamn freaking
Cantor. Your shock.
Bear has really big claws. I just want to point that out.
Yes, he does, and his brother's even bigger. Shock of the draft for you.
It was a pretty, like, honestly, nobody did something which made me go, wow, you're an idiot this year, which is surprising.
Even the Queens going outside the top 24?
I mean, I thought that was kind of crazy, but it's Queens. I mean, have you ever drank the water in Queens before?
I bring bottled water.
I'm pretty sure that there was a former, GM that got, like, accosted and beat up in Queens at one point.
Oh, my Lord.
What is his name? Starts with an M. Whatever. A lot of this was mathematic. I was a little surprised that Plymouth got Trevor Cruz of the 8th pick. That is outstanding. Like,
yes, very
that-
surprising.
Plymouth. If you do that, if you can get Mr. Turner and everybody else that you want, you're gonna be like top of the heap. You might be losing to Dakota in the finals this year. Congratulations.
Oh Lord, you're calling a
What?
two-peat already. We haven't even made it that far. Let's talk about the draft. My surprise, I'm gonna cheat and call 3 point guards going in the top 6 to be the surprise of the draft, with Dennis going at number 2 to Texas, who I thought had a point guard. Tallahassee obviously needed a point guard, so them picking Jose was no shock there. Lorraine picking Andrew was a shock to me. I mean, I guess they'd given up on the Plush Paw Sundos project, if you want to call it that. So to have a normal draft is centers flying off the board very early, but it's been point guards this year, which is a real shock. But I guess the lack of depth at the free agency for point guards has really driven teams to have to fight in this draft this year for point guards to possibly be their starters.
Well, considering the fact that the point guard depth in the free agency class is not very huge to begin with, I wouldn't say it's as big of a shot that it's kind of a little bit of a role reversal here, because usually in the free agency position there aren't a lot of bigs there, but there is a good amount of bigs in the draft. But this year it's a little bit different, and I wouldn't say it's too big of a surprise since there are quite a couple of teams who are a little bit guard needy at this point, especially when we're talking about the bottom of the barrel more so. But I think that it's definitely a little bit of a shocker that we had 3 guards in a row.
Yeah, like I said, it was a big shock there, and I mean, I think all of our brains are kind of dead at this point, especially some of us who have been on the whole time. So I think we're going to wrap it up here and let everyone else, including the crew, and poor commissioner, get on to bed, because we have another round tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, second round. It's going to be even more hectic with picks coming in every 3 minutes. I've been Ryan Eastman. Thank you all my guests who joined me, including you, Jack Cantor. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. When you get your Spotty Award, I would be happy to present it with you.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll gladly co-win the award with me.
What do you mean with you?
Yeah. Anyways, and Marcus, thank you again for being my co-host tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing this every year has always been a blast, even with some locals up in the booth, but hey, that's what we got to deal with.
Yep, and I will catch all of you tomorrow, same time. Good night.